Right, so let's get this party started. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to South African Formula One League. It's going to be round 3 for the Tier 2s around the circuit of Japan, a 5.8 kilometer circuit with 18 corners, 10 to the left and 8 to the right. Track demanding high levels of downforce, of course, and it's about 66% full throttle around each lap. Longest flat-out section of about 994 meters and a 405-meter rundown from the grid into turns 1. Suzuka is known for the high-speed, demanding nature, while sections such as the edge curve, including the Cassia chicane, have become iconic in the world of Formula One. So, as stated before, it is about 18 corners around the circuit of Suzuka, turn 1 continuing from the main straight that powers down into the first turn, decelerating into a very fast swoop heading right-hand corner, turns 2. In order to take this a little bit slower and tighter right curve, slow down in the section just before entering into turn 3, a high-speed left kink that sets up for the iconic S's, preparing for an onslaught of a driver's neck, going through turns 4, 5, and 6 the S-curves. No need for braking if you do manage to maneuver through these corners. It's flicking right to left, back again around these trio of sweeps, favoring the brave who keep the power down. Grip will be crucial, of course. So basically, we do have 13 drivers on the grid for this evening, running you down some previous results. I just want to get that again. Still new to the Tier 2, but having a race winners down in Australia was Bilicki, Edworks, and Erasmus. I do see that Edworks, Erasmus, and Bilicki, all three are driving out here tonight. Do I see Bilicki? No, I do not see Bilicki. And of course, down in China, it's going to be BS, Deranged, Moss, as well as Ehlers, who did take a third step onto the podium. So 13 drivers out here tonight for this first qualifying session. I'm just not sure. Do we have full qualifying or do we have short qualifying? I've just forgot to mention that, as the drivers will now slowly but surely make their way out onto the tracks. Everybody's still in the pit lane, as the drivers will now slowly. Let's just quickly spectate this, as we do have Edworks coming out of the pit lane right now, followed by Daddy, followed by Black Belt, as well as Boink still stuck in the pit. So only 3 drivers out on track for now. Let's just go to the tires. I believe everybody will be opting for the soft compound tire. Of course they will. There's going to be 18 minutes of this first qualifying session, and let's see who can put that car on provisional pole before the start of this race. Leading the championship on 33 points, it is going to be Beers, who seems to be absent tonight, followed by Deranged Moss on 30 points, and Bilicki also on 30 points. And Bilicki is in. Yes, there he is, of course. So if Bilicki manages to score big points in this race, he will find himself leading the championship out here in Tier 2, and Erasmus currently finds himself in P5, while Edworks currently 4th in the championship. The battle for the constructors, it is going to be the Racing Bulls over Mercedes. It's a 7-point gap that Racing Bulls do have over Mercedes, as we now make our way to, I believe it was going to be Edworks, the first driver out on track. Just getting the lap data out, as well as the track map, just to see where these drivers are currently out on track. As you now see Edworks making his way currently through turns 13 and turns 14, of course, before we get into the longest flat-out section of the circuit, 994 meters of pure raw pace, where overtaking will be a possibility if you've built up enough battery. Of course, no DRS down this back straight before he now makes his way slowly but surely into turns 16, 17, and 18 at the final corner of the race. So let's spectate Edworks as he makes his way through 17, now 18, and now it's going to be a very, very short run down Main Straight with that little bit of assistance of the rear wing opening up 3 to 1. There you go. And now he sets off to see if he can put that car onto provisional pole, currently 4th in the championship. Can Edworks work his magic for Team Aston Martin and put that car on the front row of the grid? Just going to take the tires away there, because we do know everybody is going to be on the soft sequence of corners, of tires. Now making his way through the S section. No need for brakes here, just turn the car into 5th, maybe downshift just that little bit before going to the fast sections. Now going into the very fast corner of it's going to be turns 8 and turns 9. No need to brake that much, as he does invalidate and coming in a little bit too hot. Unfortunately for Edworks, that is going to be an invalidation, but Does he have enough fuel to go again? So recharge the batteries, just get a feel for the track, familiarize yourself through that fast right-hand corner of turns 8 and turns 9, and of course, go again. Now spectating Daddy, who is currently on a run, already 1 minute up on his time. So not going to be the ideal lap, I think, for now, but it now makes his way down the back straight, 994 meters of pure raw pace. Black Belt currently on his first run as well. Now coming through turns 8, through turns 9. He will go right about now. That loses the rear a little bit, just gets that little bit of oversteer. But all no harm, no foul there for Black Belt. So who is currently on a hot lap? It is going to be Daddy Jerry, who does take provisional pole position on a 1 minute 29.7. Following him, it is Peter now making his way down the back straight. Wanted Poison, still need to learn these names, crosses the line. It's not going to be good enough. Only good enough for P2 at the moment. What about Peter making his way through turn 17 and now through turns 18? Is it going to be good enough for provisional pole? No, it is not. Only sets a 1 minute 31.3. Not the best times thus far for these drivers. We all know Erasmus will have a good amount of pace. He's currently 5th in the championship as Boinkies now puts that car onto the front row of the grid on a 1 minute 30.2. JJ hard on the brakes there, going out of turns 11 it is. Now flat out through turns 11 before going to the swooping left-handers off turns 13 and turns 14. What about Anti-Seed? Now making his way through turns 15, hard onto the brakes, just maneuvering that car into turn 16, that is, into 70 now, and the final corner before he will put his time on the board. And it's going to be good enough for a 1 minute 37. So not as fast times at the moment for these drivers. Of course, we will see the time stumbling. And Daddy Jerry looking very, very comfortable for provisional pole position at the moment. Already 5/10 over his competitors. Edwards, who did seem to invalidate, is now bringing a purple sector 2 coming through turns 15 and hard onto the brakes through turn 16. He will go now. And let's see, can he put that Aston Martin on provisional pole as he maneuvers through turn 16 and turn 17, flat out through turns 18. This might be good enough for provisional pole as he crosses the line. No, just misses out by 2/10 and he goes P2 for the moment. Biliki on the pits, followed by Vinton, currently on his outlap. Alfie crosses the line, goes P4 on a 1 minute 30.4. What about Erasmus? I think he is on a flying lap now, making his way down the back straight. Let's see if he's got the pace that at McLaren to put that car into provisional pole. Daddy Jerry currently very comfortable there in P1 at the moment. Can anyone top that time as he now goes hard onto the brake through turn 16, just gets a little bit of an understeer, now maneuvers the car through the final section of the track, and it's going to be close, but I don't think it's going to be pole position. No, it's only P5, and he is 5th in the championship, of course, as well. So currently on the outlaps, as Edward makes his way back into the pits, I believe, after this lap, because he's already 5 seconds slower than his previous lap. Daddy Jerry still stuck in the pits, followed by Biliki on his outlap, and Bunton, of course, as well. Ehlers still comfortably sitting there in the pit lane, still having to come out to set his fastest time of the session thus far. So about 12 minutes of qualifying remaining. Who will put that car on provisional pole and start from the front row of this grid, of course? JJ currently in P10, of course. I think he is on a hot lap at the moment. No, I do not think he is, because that battery is currently drained to the bottom of the energy store. Anti-C stuck in P9 for Team Williams. Black Belt in the pits. Wanted Poison. And Peter now starts a finishes his previous lap, now currently on a 1 minute 30.9. 10 minutes of the session in qualifying, as Alfie, I thought almost he was going to run wide, finds himself in P4 for the moment. Who is currently on a fast lap? Let's see, I think it is going to be Vinton on a lap, JJ on a lap as well. Improving his time by 3/100ths of a second, but he is limping on battery, so I don't think he will have the full performance down the back straight. Who else is on a hot lap? It's definitely not going to be Anti-C jumping into the pits, so Peter might be on a hot lap here. Let's just spectate these times as he now makes his way out of turns 11. Through turns 13 and 14, Peter, as he's about to finish the third sector of this lap, finish second sector of this lap, crosses the line. I don't think it is going to be improvement on his time thus far. Already up into the 1 minute 17.1s, and it's 3 seconds slower than his previous lap. So going back to, I believe it was Vinton crosses the line, good enough for P5, and Alfie now puts the car onto provisional pole on a 1 minute 29.3 for him. So he just missed that lap from Alfie, but he does outqualify Daddy Jerry for the moment. Edwork still finding himself in P3, followed by Boinkies in P4 for the moment, and Vinton now 1 second slow on his previous time, about to head back into the pits. Erasmus in the pits. On an outlap now is Black Belt, and I believe Ehlers still stuck in the pits, don't know why he has not gone out. And Billicky, of course, now making his way down the main straight, and it's only going to be good enough for P12 at the moment for a 1 minute 39.4, but the batteries are fully charged, and you can see he is busy using that overtake button. You don't want to be using overtake button too early in that lap. Just too slow going out of turns 1 and turns 2, gets a little bit of understeer, and now I think a little bit too limping on the performance there. Currently sitting in 5th gear now, upshift to 6, and now not positioning the car or not attacking the apex on entry and exit. Maybe just scared to lose the rear end of the car. Let's see what Billy can do to put that car up into the top 10 at least. Now going through turns 8 and turns 9. Need to stay a little bit wider before going into those corners, but now maneuvers his way out of turns 10 and now into the hairpin section of turns 11. Hard on the brakes he goes, positions the car in the middle of the track. Not a bad entry or no exit for Billicky as he now heads off to finish the second sector before going 994 meters down the back straights. Billicky now heading through turns 13 and turns 14, runs very wide, and I believe that will not be track invalidations. Just lifting there on the throttle, and as he finishes the second sector, it is going to be good enough for a 8 seconds faster than his previous lap thus far. So we're looking at the moment at a 1 minute 31 that could put him up into P7 if he can keep this lap together. So as Billicky makes his way through the penultimate corner and turns 18 right now, takes a wide run again, and it's going to be good enough for a 130.4, and P5 for Billicky for the moment, pushes Vinton down to P6. Black Belt was on a lap previously, and that 1 minute 33.1 is now being improving by 7/10 of a second around this lap. So as he now makes his way through the far section of turns 15, hard on the brakes before heading into turn 16. And how does he maneuver this car? Makes a good entry through the sequence of corners. And will he put that car into provisional pole? Definitely not. But it will be good enough as he crosses the line for P9, pushes Wanted Poison down to P10. So 6 minutes of this qualifying session remaining. Ehlers finally makes his way out on track as he maneuvers his way through turns 4, 5, 6 now, before going into the second sector, starting at turns 8. So let's spectate these times. Ehlers, first sector, he will put in a time of a 33.3. Not too bad, but not too fast either as he moves into turns 10, running a little bit wide out of the exit there. Now into the very slow section corner of turns 11. Hard on the brakes, turns in, takes a very wide line. We'll see where this lap will put Ehlers. Currently have not set a time on the board. His son JJ, of course, and 1 minute 33.7 for the moment. So Ehlers, what can you do, son? What can you do, sir? Sorry for that. Can you put that car into the top 5 at the moment for now as he moves his way out of turns 13 and 14 down the 994 meters straight, the longest flat-out section of this circuit. Now maneuvering his way through turns 15, hardly a corner because it's always second flat-out, whether it's race conditions or qualifying conditions. Hard on the brakes through turn 16 now, maneuvers the car, gets a little bit of a wide exit out of turn 17, and now flat-out through 18. He will cross the line and will be good enough for a 1 minute 30.8, and that puts that Ferrari up into P8. So as we have 5 minutes of this qualifying session remaining, it is currently the battle for P1 between Alfie, Daddy Jerry, Boinkies and can Edwards put that Aston Martin of his up the order as he crosses the line now. Only good enough to stay P4, even though he did improve by 0.2 of a second. And Daddy Jerry once again puts that car on provisional pole, out qualifying Alfie by what is that? I think that is what, 3/100ths of a second? Yes, it is. 3/100ths of a second. He does out-qualify Alfie, and Alfie will now need to get out of the pits and see if he can put that Kicksauber back into the front, back into pole position. Boink is still stuck in the pits. Edwards making his way for a flying lap right about. No, he's only coming for an in-lap now. So does he have enough time to come into the pits for a new set of softs? I don't think you want to be using all 3 sets of softs. Maybe wanting to save 1 set if there is going to be a late safety car in the race. Russ is making his way down the back straight. It's currently stuck in P7 and the battery is drained, so he will definitely be heading out into the pits. Yellow's recharging. Does he have enough fuel for another run? What about Peter? Just taking a Sunday drive there, going into turns 12, 11 right about now. And Black Belt, I think, currently is on a flying lap. Currently stuck in P10 on a 131.6. Looking at how the cars are separated, it is going to be a battle for pole position going from P1 all the way down to P4. You can see P5 1 second off the pace and JJ 4.3 seconds off the pace. Can anyone in the top 5 clear that 1 second that Daddy Jerry has set a 1 minute 29.3 at the moment? A lot of spaces out on track, and it's going to be a 4-way battle for the front row of this grid. Now Black Belt runs very wide coming into the turns of turn 16, flat out through 18, and again taking a very wide line. Will lose a couple of tenths, slots in P10, not improving on his lap. Wanted poison, only harvesting and recharging the battery, ready to go for a new lap. Is there anyone that is currently on an out lap or on a hot lap? Is it going to be Edworks? Starting a new lap right about now, coming into turns 2, gets onto the throttle, attacks the apex on exit, and now going through turns 3, attacks the apex once again, steers clear, gets a little bit of oversteer there. You can see the car just not agreeing, sliding all over the place, but he does keep it on track, and this is looking like a mighty fast sector 1 for Edwards. Can he improve on his time? As he finishes the first sector right about now, it is going to be good enough for a 32.3 and 5/100ths of a second slower than his previous pace. Now making his way out of turns 10. It's looking pretty decent there for Edwards. Can he maneuver through the second and third sector and maybe put that car into the front row? Very good exit out of turns 11. He goes now flat out through turns 12 before he will go into the swooping left-hander of turns 13 and turns 14. Looking like a very good lap here for Edwards. He's going to have to make it stick. Runs a little bit too cautious there. Late onto the throttle. Runs a little bit wide. Will cost him a tenth or maybe a tenth and a half. Now makes his way down the back straight through turns 13, 15, which is hardly a corner because it will be taken flat out. He has improved by 3 tenths around this lap. If he can keep it together. No, he's limping on performance of the ERS. That will cost Edworks because he doesn't have battery to fight with. Going to the line, DRS opens, he puts that car into P3 and he does improve by 1.8 tenths around that lap. I believe if he did have some performance left and some ERS left, he would have put that car on pole position. Mighty strong lap there from Edworks, unfortunately not working out for him for a front row start. Alfie now making his way through the S section of turns 3 all the way down to 6 as he gets a lot of oversteer, attacking the apex on entry of this corner, and he does lose the rear end, and that is what will happen if you take too much curb going through these S sections. Just getting oversteer, attacking the apex, and unfortunately losing performance, and I believe that will be qualifying done and dusted for Alfie, who will be able to challenge Daddy Jerry for provisional pole positions as he is still stuck in the pits. Boinkies has improved on his previous lap and he's moved his way all the way up into P4. Billiken on improving on his lap. He is harvesting and he's charging that battery for one final run. What about Vinton? 1 tenth up on his time, so no improvements there thus far. Takes a very wide line going into turns 10. Not getting the performance he really wanted, just a little bit of oversteer as he now moves his way into turns 11. Runs very wide and he will be in the turbulent air of that car in front of him. What about Erasmus? He is currently improving on his time. And that will be his qualifying session over currently in P7. What about Peter as he makes a short run to the line right about now? Batteries charged, just makes it to the line, and he sets off for his final flying lap. So that is qualifying done and dusted for Black Belt JJ as well as Daddy. Can anyone take provisional pole position away from him as Edworks crosses the line? Will start at the moment in P3. Boinkies, I believe, will not be improving on his time. Already 3/10 up on his time. No improvements there. Billy Key not having any ERS left in his car. What about Venton as he crosses the line? Just backs out. Not too sure what that was about. Just backs out before he reaches the line. Erasmus will not improve, but he is improving by 3/10. But he's got no battery left, so that will cost him dearly. So the only thing that he might be able to do is make some inroads on Vinton in front of him as he makes his way through turn 17 into turns 18 right about now. Does he jump into the pits? No, he doesn't. As he crosses the line in that McLaren is good enough to stay P7. And I believe that is qualifying done and dusted. And next will be the main event. What does Billicky do? Billicky hard onto the brakes. Just looks like a slight lock up there. Now makes his way into turns 18. A lot of drivers running very wide, not attacking the straight. And again, drivers just backing out before the line. But it wouldn't have mattered anyways having that P5 because P5 is a second adrift of the front runners. Daddy Jerry followed by Alfie, Boinkies and Edworks. Will it be a four-way battle for the race win? What about the back markers? Will they be able to make some inroads in the race? And where they were unable to find performance in qualifying, can they find a race performance? Qualifying done and dusted. Next up, let's go racing in Suzuka. As we just wait for the final drivers just to come into the pits, I think we are believing for Peter. No, there we go. Qualifying done and dusted. So there is your race classifications. Daddy Jerry in Mercedes, who is in the hunt for the Constructors' Championship at the moment, fighting it out with Racing Bulls, 7 points adrift. As you can see, no Racing Bulls here present. So can Daddy Jerry make it big and score big points for Mercedes to get them leading the Constructors? Time will tell after we are done with the Japanese Grand Prix. Joining him in the front row of the grid is Alfie. On the second row of the grid is Boinkies and Edworks. In the third row of the grid is Billicky, followed by Vinton. Erasmus P7, followed by Peter in P8. Then to round up your top 10 will be Ehlers and Black Belt. What about the back markers of Anti-Seed, Wanted Poison and JJ? Can they get back into this race? Only time will tell. Around 18 corners of the Suzuka Grand Prix, 10 to the left and 8 to the right. Once again, a track that does demand high levels of downforce, especially going through the first sector. If you're running too lower downforce, then you will be limping through those sequence of corners. Longest flat out section of 994 meters, and it's going to be a short 405 meter run from the grid going into turn 1. So best of luck to all the Tier 2 drivers. May the odds be ever in your favor. And let's go racing around Suzuka and see who can claim the top spot of the podium in a moment's time. Thank you for the hydrate, Granny Shifter. Definitely am hydrating myself at the moment. Can't wait for those lights to go out to see who can claim, not pole position, we already know with qualifying, who can claim race win. So if there are any predictions out there, please do not hesitate. Feel free to give us your predictions on who you think will be the race winner by the end of the Japanese Grand Prix. And I think the drivers are just basically tweaking their setups, not much that they can do. And strategy will be key, of course. let's just go to the race director to see who is opting for what kind of tires. So as you can see there, Daddy Jerry currently on the mediums, Alfie on the mediums, Boinkies so far opting for the hards, Billicky opting for the hards, and the rest of the field all on the medium compound tire. So not too sure if these drivers will change that. There is that driver, because this is a little bit of a glitch that the game gives us. I wouldn't say a glitch, just a little bit of information that the drivers can spectate who is starting on what compound of tire. And sometimes people do tend to change that on the very last minute, just to have their opposition guessing on what tires they are going to start. There you can see Alfie has changed from the mediums to the hards. Will anybody else change from the mediums to the hards? So 3 drivers thus far is deciding, let's limp on performance on the opening stint of this lap. This will cost them, especially through the first sector. Let's see if anyone else will decide to be slow at the start, but wanting to finish this Grand Prix on some pure pace. So currently, more drivers is changing to the hards. You can see Ehlers there, followed by JJ also now changing to the hards. And just a little bit of information for the drivers who is starting on which compound tire. Daddy Jerry still comfortably there on the medium compound tire, but let's see, go out of this window and see who surprises us by changing their tires on the last second. So still waiting for the drivers to tweak the setups, and we are moments away from those 5 red lights going out before we will be racing in Suzuka for Tier 2. Of course, the championship standings, Bias unfortunately not being here, leading the championship by 33 points, followed by Deranged Moss on 30. Billicky, who is racing here out tonight, he's currently sitting in P3 in his McLaren. Ed Works P4 and Erasmus. It is going to be a battle between these 4, and I'm really looking forward to see, what's that driver again? Daddy Jerry? Really looking forward to see what he will be able to do. What about Alfie? Just limping on the performance, not being able to get that car onto pole position. Can he fight for the race win? It's going to be Racing Bulls versus Mercedes, or should I say Mercedes versus no Racing Bulls. No Racing Bull racing out here tonight. Mercedes 7 points adrift. So if Daddy Jerry can claim some good points here tonight, Mercedes will be leading the constructors. It's all tied up between McLaren and Ferrari, 30 points apiece, followed by Aston Martin, 10 points adrift. Can anybody, can these Ferrari and McLaren boys take the fight to one another? Because only one of these teams will emerge in front of the other by the end of this Grand Prix. So still waiting for the drivers just to ready up. Patiently waiting. Still patiently waiting. And I believe in any moment's time from now, no, I am curious. Let's see. A lot of drivers have switched hard to the mediums. I was really curious to see this window of options again. So Alfie and Boinky is opting for the hards at the moment. Billicky opting for the hards. Peter and Ehlers opting for the hards, and JJ opting for the hards as well. Vorsgemors has joined. So let's see what Vorsgemors can do from the back of the grid. Welcome to the grid, Vorsgemors. Really eager to see what you will be able to do from the back row of this grid. Wanted Poison now in P12 on the mediums, and still only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers still opting for the hard compound tire. So promise I will not be spectating that window again, but was just curious and a little bit bored to see which drivers opted for what kind of strategy. It's a split strategy, of course, and come on lads, I'm eager to see us getting underway. Thank you very much, Bias. I am definitely hydrating myself. I'm going to need it because there's no real time to hydrate yourself during a race. Of course, big congratulations, of course, to Martin for Team Mercedes in Tier 1 for that glorious race win last night. Unfortunately, his useless teammate Imola 05 had to DNF running into some of the drivers in front of him. So a race I definitely want to forget. Once again, congratulations, Martin, and I'm sorry your teammate could not contribute to any points for the team last night. We are patiently waiting for these lights to go out. Guys, what is taking so long? Let's just go to the group. Let's just see what is going on here. As you can see, Billy asking, can we ready up? Can we ready up? What's going on, guys? It seems as though Vinton had to restart his server. So we're waiting for certain drivers just to rejoin. Vors wanted an invite, but it definitely is in, Vors Vermors. So while we are waiting for that, might as well run through the sequence of corners again for this race. So it's 18 corners, 10 to the left and 8 to the right. Turn 1 continues down the main straight. That takes the power into the first curve by decelerating just that little bit before you get into the swooping section of turns 2. So in order to take this at a slower but a tighter right curve, it's still not as slow as the sequence of corners in Suzuka by any means. Turn 3 is a high-speed left king that sets up for the iconic S's, preparing for an onslaught of the driver's neck. So turns 4 all the way to turn 6 is the S curves. No need for any braking around these sequence of corners. If you can just decelerate, just downshift and down upshift from this right to left king back again, this trio of sweeps favors the Braves, who keeps the power down. Grip will be crucial, which takes you into turn 7, the Dunlop curve, a section that finishes with a fast belt down the Dunlop curve, swooping uphill in the process. Turns 8 is a blind approach before going into the track that straightens out seemingly a right king to go wide to gravel awaits anyone who goes a little bit too wide. Turns 9 taken very quickly. Now for the first slow turn part of the track, it's a 92 turn degree, but it opens very quickly to the exit. Turns 10 heads up the bridge down to the flat to negotiate through the hairpin of turns 11. Quickly get onto the brake and don't run too narrow nor too wide. Just get your exit perfectly before heading into turns 12, a swooping bend that is going to be full throttle, whether it is going to be qualifying or the race, which takes you to turns 13 and 14, the spoon curve. Onto the brakes for this two-part left curve. Drift wide and the best entry for the second apex, but too much curb can ruin the section and cost you some oversteer, which might send you into the gravel or into the barriers. Turns 15, hardly even turn. It's just a sharp left bend taking full throttle in qualifying as well as the race, which takes you to the penultimate corners of 16, 17 and 18, the Casio chicane. Finally, the Casio chicane is known for the high-profile incidents and a tight right to left that promotes overtaking up the inside. The left curve of turns 18 will open up down the short main straight and the only DRS section on the track. Best overtaking opportunities definitely down the back straight, 994 meters of pure raw pace that will favor those who have saved a lot of battery going down that back straight and also down the main straight before going into turns 1. These drivers will probably be running high downforce levels, because if you don't select the correct amount of downforce, you will be limping on performance into the first sector of the circuit. So still patiently waiting for this race to start. I think drivers are just struggling a little bit to get into the session, and I hope this will not give us too many glitches going into the race itself. So patiently waiting, who can put that car on the top step of the podium. I'm going to try and take a chance to grab myself some water. Hopefully the race does not start in my absence. For fuck's sakes. All right, here we go. As the 5 red lights have gone out, we have contact on the first lap. So let's see who's got the best drive off the line. It's Daddy Jerry leading the race, followed by Alfie Edwards. Going very wide is Boinkies, and Erasmus tries to sneak the overtaking opportunity, going around the outside. Already, we have certain drivers with 10-second penalties and the first safety car of the evening, who got lucky and did gain on a couple of positions. We can see that Erasmus, great start off the line, sneaks 2 positions. Billicky drops 1, as well as Black Belt, who did obviously also gain 3 positions. And Vorschemors himself up 3 positions. And we do have our very first safety car of the evening. Anti-Seat finds himself stuck in the barriers, stuck in the gravel, with, I think, a little bit of damage himself. He's been disqualified from the session, not too sure what that was about, but we did have contact on the opening lap of this race, even before going into turns 1. Daddy Jerry leading this Grand Prix. Just going to the tire compounds to see who has opted. So you can see once again, it is a split strategy. Daddy Jerry starting on the mediums, Alfie is on the softs, Boinkies on the hards, on the softs, no, on the hards. On the hards, Edwards also on the mediums, Erasmus on the mediums, his teammate of Billicky, who conceded that position on the hards as well. That's why Erasmus did get that better start off the line. But now let's spectate who does have damage on their cars. I see Ehlers safe, I see Vinton safe, I see Vorschemors safe, and I think down the, yeah, definitely there. Wanted Poison, and I think JJ, front wings done and dusted. So Wanted Poison will now want to go into the pits and exchange those mediums for hards and play the long game. 26 laps remaining in this race. We will definitely see Wanted Poison coming into the pits as he now just turns in right, and luckily he will not lose out on any time because we are under safety car conditions. As he jumps into the pits, JJ jumps into the pits, Daddy Jerry continues to lead this Grand Prix under the safety car. So I assume that the safety car will only be out for about 2 laps. By the time we get into the 5th lap of this race, the safety car will once again be in. And I really don't hope that we will have a restart of this because we want to see some racing out on track. We do not want to see safety car Sunday. So let's keep it clean, lads. Lap 1 done and dusted. So this 6, So lap 1 done and dusted. Going down the back, we see that Wanted Poison has exchanged those mediums for a set of hards. And now JJ, who has opted to start on the hards, now unfortunately having to go onto the mediums. There is the preferred strategies. Mediums to the hards will be around about lap 13. The hards will take them a little bit further distance into this Grand Prix. But of course, the undercut on this track will be extremely powerful. So the safety car will be out for one more lap, as you do see that Wanted Poison has caught up to the back of the field now. So by the time we get started on the 4th lap of this Grand Prix, we will be underway once again. As Daddy Jerry just slots in behind the safety car. He is on the mediums, so what he would like to do on the safety car restart is try and get out of DRS distance from Alfie. What Ed Works would want to do is try and get past Alfie on those set of mediums and make them work in the first stint of his Grand Prix. Alfie will take that little bit longer to warm up his hard compound tires, so he's going to have to play the long game and defend and try and stay in the DRS of Daddy Jerry, of course. But easier said than done around the circuit of Suzuka. So Daddy Jerry has now been leading this Grand Prix for 3 consecutive laps. And the safety car will be in by the end of this lap, as all drivers has now once again caught up to the pack. So let's just settle in, take a deep breath, and we will be restarting by the end of this lap. You can see the drivers just weaving side to side, flicking left to right, trying to maintain temperatures into their tires. We will be spectating the restart from Alfie to see when Daddy Jerry will be getting onto the accelerator and restart this Grand Prix. Taking a wide line there on those hard compound tires, and it will be a little bit difficult to warm up these hards, especially under the safety car conditions that is going very, very slowly. The safety car will be in by the end of this lap. I am very certain of this. We haven't received confirmation that the safety car will be in. And we will have to struggle one more lap behind the safety car. Not too sure what the safety car does. Oh, it is in this lap. Okay, so as the safety car now makes his way into the pits. Oh, almost driving into the back of each other. Almost making contact. And away we go once again. Daddy Green did catch Alfie snapping a little bit. But Alfie now making use of the overtake button. He's gaining. Will he go around the inside? Will he be brave? No, he won't. Just backs out. Now going into turns 1 and turns 2. What about the rest of the field going down the order? You have Edward from Erasmus, from Bilicki. And already some distance down the road is Peter struggling at the back. Black Belt followed by David, followed by Eastham and Vinton. Borsgemors right on his heels. Let's just get these... Let's just get this sorted there. You can see the drivers slowly going through the sequence of the S sections. Daddy Jerry has caught up. Not caught up. He has dropped him by 1 second as Erasmus makes a move. We have a driver going into the walls, into the barriers. And no, that is Edworks. 4th in the championship. Peter making contact. Edwards into the barriers, and again we do have a safety car. Bilicki has a 10-second time penalty for making contact. Did he lose the rear end of that car? Did he have damage? It doesn't seem to have damage on that McLaren, but he's got a 10-second penalty for making contact. And once again on lap 4 we do have another safety car. Ed Works doing absolutely splendid in qualifying, having the pure pace, putting that car up into the top 4 starting positions now out of this Grand Prix. Definitely was in contention for a podium here tonight, but unfortunately his race had come to an abrupt halt. Now Erasmus makes his way up into P3. Bilicki, it's an all McLaren 3-4 and it's looking good for McLaren. McLaren does have the upper hand versus Ferrari. Ferrari on 30 points, McLaren on 30 points, and at the moment it seems as though McLaren is going to be smiling all the way to the bank, currently having the best of Ferrari, but of course there is still 23 laps of racing remaining. The sad part is that we haven't even had one lap of pure racing because the safety car from the get-go has been out. As you now see, Windhond and Vorsgemors making their way into the pit lane. Now, is Windhond ghosted there? No, he's not. As he makes his way out of the pits, rejoins the race in P10, both of them opting for a hard compound tyre. Now, these hard compound tyres will be good enough to go to the end. But what these two drivers definitely want is for no more safety cars to disrupt their race. Because if they can put a couple of seconds onto their competitors, they will be in contention for a podium finish if the safety car stays out. It's about 17 seconds lost in the pit lane. Drivers looking very, very good at the moment is going to be Alfie, because if the safety car continues to go out, he can stretch these hards to go out, to go on for quite some distance, and potentially maybe switching them over for a set of softs. Of course, the softs will be losing performance around about the 5th or 6th lap, so it will not be optimal going on to the softs, but definitely going on to a brand new set of mediums in the concluding stages of this race will prove dividends for the remainder of this race. So starting the 6th lap, after the cars will cross the line, we will have one more lap of safety car after this lap, as the track has been bunched, and hopefully we can get back into racing conditions without being disrupted of a yet again another safety car. Daddy Jerry continues to lead this race. So unfortunate for Billicky. I'm not too sure what happened there, but being on the right tire at the right time, those hards that he can stretch out, he needs to go into the pits and serve a 10-second time penalty. And if I was Billicky, I would probably have done it now under the safety car conditions. Go into the pits, serve your 10-second penalty, and not lose out later in the race. Yes, you will drop to the back of the pack, but at least you would have served those 10 seconds. But maybe he knows something that we do not, and one more lap of racing before we will resume this race. On lap 6, we have 22 laps of racing remaining. Starting from pole position, Daddy Jerry has led this race from the get-go, but yet again, we haven't had a single lap of racing. Going to the positions. So who is the main winners and the main losers of the race thus far? It is going to be Black Belt. No, it's going to be JJ, who's the top winner at the moment, gaining 6 positions on the start of the race. Followed by him, it is going to be Black Belt and Erasmus, already up 4 positions. The biggest losers for the race, unfortunately, thus far, is going to be Boinkies, dropping 6 positions, and Windhond, but only because both of them did make their way into the pits, has lost out on 4 positions. The safety car will definitely be in by the end of this lap, and we will be back under racing conditions. It's a McLaren 3-4 for the moment. No Racing Bulls out there tonight with their battle going on with the Racing Bulls. So Mercedes looking good for 25 points and leading the championship, the constructors, by the end of this race. It's a battle between Ferrari and McLaren, both on 30 points apiece, and it's advantage McLaren at least for the moment. Jumping back to Alfie to see when Daddy Jerry will get us back under racing conditions. Currently 1.2 seconds adrift, and he needs to catch up and not put too much of a gap between him and the Mercedes driver. I'm very certain that the safety car must be in by the end of this lap, because the pack has been bunched now for more than a lap. Will we receive the message? Safety car is in this lap, and we are about to go racing in Suzuka once more. Coming to the back of Jerry, and I think it's going to be 3, 2, 1, go, go, go. We are back under racing conditions. Now, Alfie did try to sneak the overtake going into turns 1 on the previous safety car restart. Will he try it again? He's dropping. Just backs out. Now, what about the rest of the field? Erasmus, followed by Billicky, already 6 tenths adrift, is going to be Black Belt. Wanted Poison gets past the Villiers, who drops to P7, and that will make McLaren smile all the way to the bank. Now running a little bit wide. You can see Boinkies on the rear of the Ferrari. Windhond on a brand new set of the hards, trying to make the overtake. Vorsgemors stuck in P10, JJ P11. But it is Daddy Jerry that is setting the pace in here, out here in Suzuka. And finally, we are back under racing conditions. Erasmus being hunted down by his teammate Opeliki, and now the McLarens does not have to do anything silly. They have two cars running for a potential podium spot. As Alfie runs a little bit wide, doesn't open up the gap for Erasmus. Not at the moment, no. But already, Erasmus on 5% battery disposal left. Alfie still on 70. Now this will hurt Erasmus down the back straight. 994 meters of straight. So Billicky will now start to close in. Erasmus will not have the pace on 5% battery to close the gap. So Alfie now safe. As you can see him pulling the distance because his closest competitor is limping on performance. Already Billicky's gaining on him. And when we start the 8th lap of this race, Jerry already has a 2-second lead over Alfie. As we start the 8th lap, there's 20 laps of racing remaining. The closest battle out on track will be P2 to P3. Black Belt right on their heels as well, followed by Wanted Poison, already 3.6 seconds adrift. Boinkies will be hunting him down, will be desperate to get by. What about Ferrari that was running 5-6, now finds themselves running 8th and 9th. Daddy Jerry once again with a fastest sector 1, 5 tenths faster than the previous lap. Alfie 2.6 seconds behind. Erasmus 1.4 seconds behind, and now Billicky will start to put pressure. You can see Erasmus harvesting going into turns 11 right now. He will be limping on performance, 14% battery to his disposal. So going down the main straight, it will be taking candy from a baby down the back straight. 994 meters. Wanted Poison does get past De Villiers. Ferrari running 8th and 9th at the moment. So there is quite some gaps out here on track tonight. At the moment going into lap 8. Billicky still within touching distances from his teammate on a set of hards. Erasmus limping on performance, 1.4 seconds and 0% battery to his disposal. So Erasmus will really need to start harvesting. As we start the 9th lap, it is 2 fastest consecutive laps for Jerry. Ehlers gets a 3-second time penalty. Alfie currently in P2, 3 seconds behind. Erasmus being hunted down by his teammate. Now they don't have to do anything silly. Billicky at the moment is faster than Erasmus out on track. So maybe team orders will be given out to tonight and we will see 2 cars swapping positions. It's never good having to give up a podium position, but I think for the benefit of the team, Billicky seems to be the faster driver out on track. Will we see positions being swapped? Because the more this squabble continues, Alfie continues to put distance between him and Erasmus. The gap, 1.9 seconds already. Boinkies right on the heels of Black Belt going into turns 11. Just stays behind him, both drivers. Black Belt running a little bit wide. You can see Black Belt gets a good exit out of turns 11. But now on the rear is Boinkies. He will be brave going around the outside. But now going into turns 13, 14, he will have the inside. Will they make contact? Oh, they make contact. But they both keep it on track. And we saw that coming from a mile away. Very tight going for the overtake around those corners. Erasmus has closed the gap by 1/10. On Alfie. Let's just spectate the lap times to see how much faster Daddy Jerry is. He slots in a 133.1. Alfie a 133.4. Erasmus at 33.6. So Daddy Jerry 5 tenths faster around that last lap than Erasmus, 3 tenths faster than Alfie. Now Boinkies does get past Black Belt by the use of that powerful DRS down the main straight. He moves himself up into P5. Ferrari limping. Ferrari going from P5, P6 to P7, P8, now to P7 and P10. Ehlers limping on performance at the moment. So will Ehlers be able to redeem himself? He knows what it feels like to get a podium down in Australia. Can he redeem himself and get back into this race? already starting lap 10, and there is 18 laps of racing remaining around Suzuka. Daddy Jerry already 3.6 seconds adrift. Alfie 1.7 seconds ahead of Erasmus, and Erasmus, although he is limping on battery and ERS, he's put himself out of DRS distance from his teammate of Bilicki. So now we will be spectating the lap times of Boinky, because Boinky, getting past Black Belt, has already put 2 seconds between the two of them. Boinky is in the hunt here to hunt down these McLarens. McLaren will be desperate to try and stay ahead. As we finish the lap at 32.9, a 33.2, and a 33.5. Daddy Jerry continues to extend his lead out in front as Boinkies now sets a new fastest lap of this race. As we start the 11th lap, Daddy Jerry continues to lead the race. He started in pole position and he has led every single lap of this race thus far. The closest battle out on track will be Wanted Poison and Ehlers, as Ehlers runs very wide going out of the exit of turns 2, still attacking the gravel. Now JJ will be right on his heels, desperate to get past Ehlers. Ehlers in that Ferrari is struggling, especially through the first sector. Daddy Jerry 4.2 seconds ahead. Will this be Daddy Jerry's race to win, to take Mercedes to the top step of the podium and leading the Constructors' Championship in Tier 2? Boinkies is already 1.4 seconds away. Let's spectate the sector times of Bilicki versus Boinkies. As Bilicki finishes the second sector, it is going to be a 17.3 and a 16.1. So around this lap thus far, Boinkies has been 1.2 seconds faster than Bilicki. He's hunting him down. That gap now down to 1.2 seconds as we start the 13th lap, the 12th lap of this Grand Prix, and he's almost within DRS distance. So on the next lap, Boinkies will be able to open up the rear wing to try and get past the McLaren. Bilicki, remember, still has that 10-second time penalty that he has to deal with. Alfie slowly but surely starting to match the performance and the pace of Daddy out in front. Now, is this because the mediums is starting to get to that window where the hards will be the better tire to be on at the moment? And like we said prior, Alfie is in a very good position starting on these hard compound tires. Under the safety car, he managed just to save a lot of tire life, which allows him to stretch out the stint. Will he opt to go onto lap 20 or 21 to swap out these hards for the softs? Once again, I don't think it is the preferred strategy going from hards to soft. The mediums will be much better to be on by the end of this Grand Prix, just to give you more confidence with the tires not going off too soon. Vintont has gained up to the end of Black Belt, and Boink is now only 7 tenths adrift of Bilicki. Vintont has rejoined the race. I think he just managed to lose connection there. As we now head into turn 16, you can see Boinkies a little bit aggressive, late on the brakes, that will cost him a tenth or two. And now being 7 tenths behind, I think he's just that little bit too far away to try and sneak the overtake. I might be wrong. He's in the slip, he's in the toe, he's up the gears, foot to the floor, but just runs out of straight. Needs to back down. So he needs to be at least within 4 tenths of a second to try and get that overtake. You can see that, as he runs wide, Bilicki, and it opens up the door. Boink is up into P4. Now 3.7 seconds separates him and a potential podium out here in Suzuka. Running very wide, putting the pressure on Bilicki, and Bilicki has to concede, drops to P5, and I think that will make Ferrari feel a little bit better. So now currently we do have Vintont that is only 6.5 seconds behind Bilicki, and with that 10-second time penalty, it means that Ferrari will at least finish in front of one of the McLarens. as things stand at the moment. So now it is going to be Boinkies slowly but surely trying to reel in Erasmus. We will look at the lap times to see how these two are comparing against one another. Both on the same strategy. Erasmus, 12 lap old mediums. Boinkies, 10 lap old mediums. And Alfie matching the pace of Daddy Jerry at the moment, as we are about to start the 14th lap of this Grand Prix, which means 14 laps of racing will be remaining. As Daddy Jerry decides it is time to get rid of these medium compound tires, Alfie will now, for the first time, lead the Grand Prix. It's about 17 seconds lost in the pit lane as Daddy Jerry makes his way out of the pit lanes. Through goes Bilicky, through goes Erasmus. No, Erasmus jumps into the pit, so Daddy Jerry will rejoin this race in P4 for the moment. Making his way down the main straight now is Vinton, but he just gets ahead Daddy Jerry, and I think Borskamors will also get ahead of Daddy Jerry. So I think what Alfie would now want is for Daddy Jerry just to be stuck in traffic. Let's see how much time he will lose on a new set of hards compared to Borskamors currently running in P5. He will not be able to use these hard compound tires to the full potential coming out of the pits because he will have traffic of Borskamors. So now it will be crucial for Daddy Jerry to try and get past the Borskamors as soon as possible as we exit turns 10, now up the hill going into turns 11. You can see he's just waiting patiently, and that Borskamors is on 9-lap old hards, will not be slow definitely, but also will not be as fast as a brand new set of the hard compound tires. So now Alfie will have to play the patient game. He needs to remember that these mediums did manage to go 14 laps. However, that was under 5-6 laps of safety car. So now will not be the time to put for Alfie. He needs to extend this, he needs to stay out, and he does improve by 2/100ths of a second on the previous lap. What about Daddy Jerry? Still behind Borskamors. Now luckily for him, as he makes a lunge going into turn 16, what a move there by Daddy Jerry. But did he make himself, did he compromise himself? No, he didn't, because he will have DRS, and that was a brave and bold move from Daddy Jerry, going hard late onto the brakes. He got the grip, he had the confidence, he had the patience, and what a brilliant move. Pushes that Mercedes back up into P4, and now 3.1 seconds of clean air separates him and Vinton currently in P10. The McLaren drivers of Erasmus, who did decide to go into the pits, now finds himself in the same situation, and that will make Boinkies very happy, because at the moment Boinkies has 6 seconds of clean air, while Erasmus, who was ahead of him, is now limping poor performance behind Wanted Poison. This will cost him a lot of seconds. As he finishes the sector, it's only good enough for a 34.7 on new tires, 7/10 slower than his previous best, than his personal best sector 1. Now going up the hill into turns 12, into turns 11, he's limping on performance, and this means Boinkies can try and extend the gap, and maybe when he comes into the pits, which I think will be by the end of this lap, he will get out ahead of Erasmus. He had clean air, Erasmus struggling to get past, and it's only 17 seconds lost in the pits. Does Boinkies pit? No, he decides to stay out. So that last lap at 53.1. Let's spectate Erasmus to see how much time he has lost. So it was a 1 minute 53.1 versus, we will have to wait and see, as he will have to go the long way around, just backs out. This will make him lose more time. A 1 minute 31.1, and now he has to sacrifice a 1 minute 36. Boinkies 4 seconds fast on the previous lap, and now desperate to get past his Erasmus. His race is compromised, makes contact with Wanted Poison, and I think Boinkies now will be the time to get into the pits, because once you exit, you will get out ahead of Erasmus, who you are battling for P2. Absolute scenes, and just the wrong call for Erasmus to get into the pits. Should he have waited 1 extra lap just to see if he could clear Wanted Poison? He was stuck for 1 full lap and lost out on 4 seconds compared to the pace of Boinkies. Boinkies now only 5.5 seconds behind Alfie. Alfie on those hard-setted compound tires. He will be pitting, I think, let's say 1, 2, maybe 3 laps time from now for a brand new set, I would say, for the medium compound tire. What will Boinkies do as he makes his way into turn 16 right now? Will he exchange these mediums for a brand new set of the hard compound tire? Boinkies continues to stay out. As we start the 17th lap, we have 11 laps of racing remaining. The closest battle out on track will be, it is going to be Alfie versus, coming out of the pits now as Daddy Jerry does come out, rejoins in P3 as Alfie comes out, and right behind him will be Borsgemors. And currently 8.4 seconds adrift from Borsgemors is Erasmus, who will probably be fuming, losing out on a lot of seconds compared to Boinkies, who now leads the Grand Prix. So Alfie was leading this Grand Prix for 3 laps before deciding to exchange those hards for the medium compound tire. So deciding to get off at, I think, 10 laps, 11 laps on those mediums will do him some good justice. Boinkies continues now to lead the race, but still he needs to pit. So the only driver that does need to pit, I would say, is going to be Boinkies. He's been on these medium compound tires since lap 3. So I think now will be the time to pit. He knows that Daddy Jerry is not going to be his race. He's competing against Erasmus for the win of this Grand Prix. For P3 in this in the Grand Prix, sorry, not for the win, my mistake. But hey, still anything can happen as we now spectate Boinkies, who continues to stay out. And this is very brave and bold from Boinkies. Erasmus now on 3-lap old hard compound tires. So Boinkies, I think, did start on the hard compound tire. Just go to the race director. Boinkies did start on the hard compound tire. So basically what he can do is he can pit for a brand new set of the medium compound tire and still be quick. So he does not have to pit for the hards. He's already been on the hards. Where Erasmus, already on 4-lap old hard compound tires, Boinkies is looking very, very good for a great result in this Grand Prix. Alfie is now 1.5 seconds behind Daddy Jerry, who is now struggling to find performance behind the Ferrari, as Billicky gets another 3-second time penalty. And I'm just eager to see, did he serve that 10-second time penalty in the pits? Yes, he did. So he only has now 3 seconds to deal with. So the more Alfie squabbles to try and get past, where's the tires? The more Daddy struggles to get past this Ferrari, the closer Alfie gets to him. And Alfie does have the tire advantage over Daddy Jerry. He's on the new medium compound tire. Daddy Jerry struggling to get past Vinton, who is on an old set of the hards. Now he is dumping batteries on the pace. He's up foot to the floor, and now he leads. Goes into speed 2, going into turns 15. Now the Ferrari makes a mistake, runs a little bit wide. Late on the brakes goes Alfie, and Alfie will have that rear wing opening up. Boinkies continues to lead the race. Now it's going to be Alfie versus Daddy, and it's only a matter of time. When does Boinkies come into the pits? 17 seconds lost in the pit lane. I think pit now by the end of this lap, maybe your best chance for a set of the soft compound tires that will give you that more performance. What's going to be better? The mediums? Will it be the softs? We do have yellow flags. JJ running a little bit wide, but no harm, no foul. He continues to race as he makes his way out of turns 11 right about now. Boinkies 12 seconds ahead of Daddy Jerry. Erasmus, who was comfortably in a P3 position, drops all the way down to P6, being stuck behind. It was wanted poison, yes. Alfie is in touching distances of Daddy Jerry. Boinky slowly but surely is starting to lose a lot of performance in his tires. 16-lap-old mediums, I think now will be the time for Boinkies to come into the pits. He's been leading this Grand Prix for 3 laps now. Let's see what he will do. Will he jump into the pit spot? before starting the 20th lap. Will he extend? Will he extend the stint? Yes, he does. And it's very brave from Boinkies. So spectating lap times, he's on a 1 minute 33.6. What about Daddy Jerry? A 33.6 versus a 32.8 and a 32 flat for Alfie as he's up the gears, foot to the floor, DRS wide open. Alfie goes into P2, and by the time Boinkies comes into the pits, Alfie will lead the Japanese Grand Prix. What a brilliant race from Alfie. He's on the mediums, the preferred tire. He's got a 3-lap tire advantage to Daddy Jerry. He will be desperate to get out of DRS touching distances. And Alfie just wanting to see, where did he start this Grand Prix? He started in P2. Can he finish in P1 and win this Grand Prix? What a brilliant race it has been from Alfie thus far. But however, it's not over till it's over. Heading uphill into the hairpin section of turns 11, 7/10 a grip is Daddy from Alfie. Boinkies continues to lead the Grand Prix. He was 1.6 seconds slower than Alfie in P2. I think now will be the time to pit if you want to battle and stay P3. If he pits, he will give himself the opportunity to fight for a race win as we start the 21st lap. Does he dive into the pits? No, he stays out. So does this mean he will potentially take these tires to the end of the race? Race director, just going to race director. I just want to see something. So Boinkies on that last lap, he did a 33.6 again, consistent on the lap times. What about Alfie making his way around the final bend now? A 33.6 versus a 31.5. These boys are absolutely flying now. And Alfie almost out of DRS range from Daddy, who just manages to hang on. It's going to be a battle as we go down the back. We also have Black Belt battling it out versus Billicky. Vinton finally makes his way out of the pit lane for a brand new set of the medium compound tire. No, was he in the pits? I don't think he was in the pits, so that might be my mistake. JJ currently in P11, not scoring any points. Wanted Poison making their way out of the pits on a brand new set of the softs. So is Boinkies going to try and stretch this out to potentially win the race? We will be spectating as these lap times will be dropping. Alfie is out of DRS range from Daddy. So he's in a comfortable P2 position at the moment. Erasmus and Vorschemors will be going at it as well. Erasmus, who has the tire advantage, is now 7/10 away from Vorschemors for P4. Boinkies, 33.5. Alfie crosses the line. A 32.1. So gaining by 1.4 seconds around the last lap. And I don't think 1.4 seconds a lap will be enough. Boinkies, I thought, will be going into the pits. It looks like Boinkies is doing the brave. He's going to extend this stint on those hard medium compound tires. Will this be enough to get him a race win? It will definitely be enough to give him, wait, hang on, we have yellow flags. That is a driver going off track, and that is JJ all the way down in P11, having the race, a nightmare of a race for Team Alpine at the moment. Continuing to lead the race, coming out of turns 11, flat out through turns 12, is Boinkies. Alfie, 7.6 seconds adrift, followed by Daddy out of DRS range. So this will be your podium as we go to Erasmus versus Vorschemors. Erasmus does have the tire advantage. What about Ehlers making his way down the pit straight as Billicky has come into the pits for a brand new set of the soft compound tire. So I will be desperate to see how much performance is left in those medium compound tires. We will continue to spectate lap times as we start the 23rd lap of this race. He has now been leading the race for 7 laps, a 33.6 versus a 32.3, so 1.3 seconds performance Alfie has over his tightest rival as we now go down into turn 16, 17 and 18. It's Wors Gemors versus Erasmus. Erasmus did get past, limping on battery. Does Wors Gemors get past him with the assistance of the DRS? You can see he's in the slip, he's in the toe, he's gaining, he's going the long way around, and before going into one, Wors Gemors back up into P4. Erasmus concedes the position. Will he hang on? Now going back, it is Alfie who's made a slight mistake, it seems, and Daddy Jerry retakes that P2. What happened to Alfie? That was definitely a P2 all day long, and now he's 7 seconds away from Daddy Jerry. This means that there's a 10-second gap between Boinkies and Daddy Jerry, and Alfie had been faster. Let's spectate the lap times versus Boinkies and Daddy Jerry. Boinkies is looking good to win this Grand Prix, something I did not see coming. I thought this guy was going to go into the pits. He did the brave thing by staying out on the medium compound tire, and it seems as though this strategy will pay dividends to Boinkies as he comes out of the penultimate corner of 17, flat out through 18. By starting the 24th lap, he slots in a 1:33.3. What about Daddy Jerry? A 1:33.3 versus a 1:34.7. Boinkies faster on the previous lap. Starting the 24th lap, he's been leading now for 8 laps in this Grand Prix. Wors Gemors and Erasmus now going down the main straight. It's going to be 702 meters of pure raw pace, but Wors Gemors does have the advantage. Even with the rear wing opening up, he's got no battery left to his disposal. Wors Gemors continues to stay in P4. Alfie now 6.1 seconds, runs wide again. Does Alfie have damage on that car of his? Just waiting to see if Alfie might potentially have damage. He's limping on performance. I don't see any end plates off. Has he just lost performance in that car? Not too sure. Unfortunately, looking good for a race win as Erasmus, he retires from the race. Wors Gemors gets a 10-second penalty for a severe collision with Erasmus, it seems. This race has turned upside down, and this is the last thing Boinkies would have wanted. Now it will be the time for Boinkies going to the pits, slap on a brand new set of the soft compound tires. This is the last thing Boinkies would have wanted, is a safety car. Now the pack will be bunched up. He's diving into the pits. Daddy Jerry, he opts for track position. He doesn't pit. Boinkies will come out in P2. What does Alfie do? Goes into the pits. Daddy Jerry has been left feeling very, very vulnerable. Boinkies coming out of the pits right about now. Daddy Jerry slots behind the safety car. And now there will only be 3 laps of racing remaining. So it doesn't matter what happens from here on out. The safety car will be in by the end of this lap. Doesn't matter where the field is, because we will have 2 laps of racing remaining. This means Boinkies on a brand new set of the fastest compound tire. My prediction is look out for a very determined and a very quick Boinkies wanting to win this race. Daddy Jerry now retakes the lead of the race. So Daddy Jerry now has led this Grand Prix for 14 laps, but I think this will be lived very, very shortly. Wors Gemors opting for track position on an old set of the hard compound tire. Alfie, will he potentially not only get past Wors Gemors, but past Daddy Jerry as well? Daddy Jerry looking comfortable for P2. But now, by the end of this lap, the safety car will be in. Doesn't matter where the pack is. We will have 2 laps of racing to the line. Daddy Jerry will know he will have a very determined Boinkies behind him. At the restart of this race, I cannot wait to see what happens. Erasmus squabbling it out with Wors Gemors. Unfortunately for him, his race being ruined. And once upon a time, McLaren had the advantage. 30 points, them versus Ferrari. Now, advantage has changed from McLaren to Ferrari. Ferrari seems to have the upper hand by the concluding stages of this race. The safety car will be in by the end of this lap. Let's spectate none other than Boinkies. Two drivers to look for on this restart. Boinkies versus Alfie. We have 2 laps of racing remaining in Suzuka. Boinkies versus Daddy. Alfie already getting past Vorsemors, going into turns 1. Now the race is on. Alfie versus Boinkies versus Daddy Jerry. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when these soft runners will get past. It will be a remarkable story if Daddy Jerry can win this Grand Prix. The odds are ever stacked against him. But let's wait and see what happens as we now see Boinkies going head to head. He will have the pace. He will have the grip. Look at how much performance he has as Jerry runs a little bit wide. Going into turn 10, he leads the race. Alfie goes through. And we have a 2-horse race for the lead of the Grand Prix. Daddy Jerry drops to P3. Now behind him is the hard compound runner of Vorsemors and Black Belt. Alfie versus Boinkies. And what Alfie needs to do, stay in DRS. You will have your opportunity. 35, oh, he runs wide. No, that was only a glitch. Boinkies has got the advantage of ERS. Alfie has got the advantage of DRS. It's a matter of who will have the pace going down the only DRS straight. Alfie ever so close, but Boinkies will have the ERS to try and defend him off. The gap, 3 tenths. Jerry gets a 3-second time penalty. Now the race is on. He's in the slip. He's in the toe. But he's limping on battery, which means he's closing. He's closing. But he runs out of straight. Boinkies leads going into turn 1 on the final lap of the race. JJ gets a 3-second time penalty. Boinkies, 86% battery to his disposal. Alfie will have to work magic to try and get past. Going down the backfield, we have 2 Red Bulls going at it. It is going to be the soft compound runner of Vinton. Desperate to get past. He runs wide, gets oversteer, just almost loses the rear end of the car. Going back to the lead of the race. It's Boinkies leading the race, and he has now been leading for 9 laps in this Grand Prix. Does he have what it takes to win the Suzuka Grand Prix? Time will tell. It's a race to the line. We have 1 sector of racing remaining as we now move into turns 13 and 14. Who will win it? Advantage? Definitely Boinkies. He gets understeer just that little bit. Now the gap, 3 tenths, but he's limping on battery. And now you can see he says, I'm dropping everything that I have. Goodbye. See you at the line. I'm winning this Grand Prix, he says. To the line we go. Boinkies moving through into turns 15. Slams onto the brakes. Maneuvers through turn 16. The penultimate of 17. Flat out through turns 18. And Boinkies crosses the line now, wins the Japanese Grand Prix and takes fastest lap of the race. Alfie comes on in P2 and Daddy Jerry, who did start on provisional pole position, drops to P3. What an absolute remarkable race this has been in the concluding stages of the South African Tier 2 League. Unfortunate for Erasmus Edwards, Peter and Antiseed, unfortunately not being able to finish this race. And there is your final classifications. What an excellent race this has been. Boinkies, brilliant strategy, staying up on the mediums for so long, wins the Suzuka Grand Prix. Alfie P2, Daddy Jerry on the 3rd step of the podium. Vinton, very impressive for Ferrari, robs it into the faces of McLaren. Ferrari is now leading McLaren in the constructors. And I do believe Mercedes has now topped the charts over the Racing Bulls. Mercedes leading the constructors and 30 points apiece for McLaren and Ferrari. It was looking McLaren all the way. Now, unfortunately, it has now shifted to Ferrari. Driver of the day, game says Boinkies, and I have to agree 100%. Boinkies, my personal driver of the day. And there you see, very, very happy, makes his way to the top step of the podium. And let the celebrations in Suzuka begin. Your final classifications for the race. Boinkies, fastest lap of the race, starting on the second row of the grid, extending his stint on an old set of mediums, a strategy I never predicted. I was going on about him having to pit. What do I know sitting on the couch? He knows more going on. Top step and race winner, Boinkies. Following the podiums will be Alfie and Daddy Jerry. Vinton comes home in a very impressive P4 after starting P6, an advantage Ferrari versus McLaren. Red Bull finishes in P5 and P6, and Gellers, who had an up and down race, even though he had a 10-second time penalty, finishes in P7. Wanted Poison comes on in P8. Billicky for McLaren. It was looking so good for Team McLaren. What went wrong? Only time will tell. Maybe the debrief in the McLaren garages will tell us a bit more what happened there. JJ, who was always looking out of it, not going to score a point, he finishes in an impressive P10 and takes 1 point home for Team Alpine. Erasmus comes home in P11, and Edwards DNFing, unfortunately, along with the rest of the drivers. And that is Tier 2 Round 3 done and dusted for Tier 2. Absolute scenes here. Congratulations to my driver of the day and race winner Boinkies. Absolutely top shelf performance. Everybody from the South African Formula One League, it was nice being your host for the evening, spectating and commentating on the Tier 2 race. I wish all of you a pleasant evening, and until you meet again, Emo05, signing out.